Well, I'm glad to hear that. Is there anything that you would like to tell the audience who is watching tonight to tell their friends that you haven't had an opportunity to say in either meetings or been asked, interviews, people like myself and others, but is there something that you would love to say but have never been asked, or you feel is important for people to have a better understanding of who you are, what your role is, what your goal is, what the community's goal should be? Do you have any comments regarding that? Just kind of open-ended.
I always have comments, and
Okay.
I've said it before, but truly what drives me is putting children first and knowing at the end of the day, like I said, when our children graduate, that they are truly prepared for whatever path that they take in life. So that's important to me. It's important that the community gets behind District 150 and supports our efforts. It's important that parents support us. And we will make mistakes. I mean, that's just part of being a human being. But just knowing that if we can get everyone to focus on children, to put ourselves on the back burner, we can make a difference. And I'm saying we, I'm talking about every citizen in this town, that we start focusing on the positives and stop focusing on the negatives. It would make a difference in the lives of our children.
I had heard that you're going to be giving a speech at an upcoming NAACP function, and in fact, to me, you've just kind of hit the title on the head. I don't know what your title is or what they've asked you to speak on, but putting children first, to me, would be an ideal thing in terms of the general community, and particularly the NAACP, which is the advocate for the poor, for minorities, for everyone, of which we all ought to be involved in putting our children first. There are so many people that are criticizing. In fact, I was just reading recently in USA Today where there's even a movie coming out, some kind of a documentary called Superman. I don't know whether you've heard of it or whatever, but and I don't even know what the focus of that is, but there also was a magazine, Time magazine, that had a special focus on improving our public schools and so forth. So education has really become the topic of the day. In addition to economics and jobs, I would say that probably the next big challenge facing America as a whole, as well as local communities, are education. How do you feel being involved in such an important aspect of the not only development of our children and putting them first, but our nation goes as our educational system goes? What do you feel that's an awesome responsibility?
It is. It's a major responsibility, and like I said, that's why I do get discouraged when adults will not focus on children and know that we are truly, we will what we do will have an impact on children beyond 5 years, 10 years. We're talking about 20 and 30 years down the road. So it is a major responsibility, but I think we as adults must stop and truly decide, do we truly want children to be successful, or we want ourselves to be successful?
And they need to stop, in my opinion, pointing fingers, but look in the mirror and ask, what have I done to enhance my own child, or my nephew, or my grandchild, or
the neighbor's child,
or the neighbor's child, or my community, in terms of getting involved as a volunteer. I know one of the things that you focused on when school started was to have men involved, as best as I can remember, meeting kids. We have a new dress code. I'd like for you to kind of comment regarding that. How important do you feel a dress code is? How important do you feel discipline is? And normally people are either suspended or expelled. Do you think that there is an alternative to that, or do you think we need to do more of that or less than that? What are your thoughts? Well, let's kind of separate them. With the new dress code, what do you hope to accomplish, or what are your thoughts regarding the dress code?
Just raising the expectation that students should come to school prepared, and that dress is an important part of coming to school prepared. But let me just say that the dress code, we took the 4 high schools at the time, we took their 4 handbooks and we consolidated the dress code. So it was already, there were elements in all of the different schools for a dress code. We just wanted to hold students more accountable for following the dress code, and also staff members to help us with enforcement, and also for staff members to step up and dress more professional if they were not, because some, were dressing professionally at the time. And that's what we did, and we partnered with the elite group to come out and support us on the first day of school, actually first couple of days of school, to help with that. Of course, children will be children. Some would, when they're within your eyesight, they're fine, they're pulling up their pants and they're appropriate, and if they get around the corner, things change. But we're not giving up. We're going to continue to reinforce that, because we know in our jobs there's a level of expectations of how you should dress and present yourself. So we're just trying to work with children on that now, so that they don't want to encounter those problems when they get out into the workplace or when they go to college or whatever path that they decide to take. In reference to discipline, when you think about suspensions and expulsions, we do, just like any place else in life, there are expectations for how you have to conduct yourself. And there's a consequence for every action. And we have to look at that to make sure that we're treating students fairly. One thing that I've been doing, along with my central office staff, is we are monitoring the suspensions. We're looking at them. When you think about physical assaults to staff members, other children, and weapons, you think, okay, is there an alternative to that? Well, immediately, no, there's not an alternative to that. There should be some counseling coupled with, there has to be a consequence for the action, because that was a major violation. But then we need to counsel that particular child so that that particular incident does not occur again. But there has to be consequences for some actions, and that might even result in suspension or expulsions. When we expel students or suspend students because they are being, maybe let's say, insubordinate or disrespectful, that can be a bit much, and it can be extreme. And we need to make sure that at all of our schools we are applying the rules consistently.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Having been a ex-high school English teacher in South Bend, Indiana, where I was born and raised, as well as having been a high school principal in Montgomery, Alabama, of all places, in 1968, I can proudly say that as a principal, I never ran into a situation where I felt comfortable or had to suspend or expel a student. But back then, society was different. Students were different. There was a sense of respect that the students had. They did things that a lot of my teachers felt that, well, Ms. Bohannon, you ought to send them home. I said, well, no, we're here to teach. And kids can't learn on the street corners. And in fact, in some kids' mind, they feel that, hey, that's a gift. As their friends sat in and looked out the window at their buddies sitting in the car and smoking a cigarette and having a good time, and they're having to sit up straight and shut up, So I extended the school day. I made kids who messed up stay in school while everybody else went home after school. In the same way with the failing. I was a teacher in South Bend, Indiana Public Schools, and I can proudly say that out of the thousands of students I had from 63 to 68, I never failed a student. You either got an A, B, C, or a D with the note "See me," or you wouldn't have any grade at all. You would just have in big red letters, "Please see me." And I would apologize to the students, and I would challenge the students. And in most cases, they admitted that the reason they didn't do well is because they watched TV or they went to a game. And I gave them opportunities later that week or the next week. Because to me it's important, not that you learned it or knew it at 2 o'clock last Thursday, but that you know it before you leave my class and move on, but more important, into life. So I know there's a lot of things that have changed in our schools regarding how to deal with things. We have personnel. We never had guards at the door and metal detectors and so forth. And so there's a real challenge that not only do we have the responsibility of teaching them basic information, but just providing a safe environment and a positive learning environment. As far as your relationship with the unions or your relationship with the teachers in general, I know it's kind of hard for you to assess how you think that they feel about you, but again, that's an area I've heard some real positive things as far as your openness, your friendship, your wanting to involve them, and I think that's encouraging.
Thank you. And because I don't know how they feel about me, but I'm very open to working with all unions, all organizations, so that, like I said, we can make a difference in the lives of children. We don't have to always agree on every aspect of maybe the contract or different things, but we can reach an understanding of, okay, this is what we need to do for children. So I'm willing to sit down and meet with them on a regular basis. So doors always open for that.
And I think as long as you have the same goal, putting children first, even though you may differ in some minor ways and things, but as long as you both are, or whoever the number is, involved in trying to put children first and see to it that they reach their full potential individually, then it really doesn't matter. You know, some people like steaks well done, some like them raw, some like them, you know, in between, and it's the same way with kids. We may like to do things different, but as long as you got the meat,
that's right.
then that's the main thing. Well, I wish you well. I'm elated that you were hired. I'm concerned. I know when Scott Moore, our city manager, first came, I know one of his first duties was laying off staff at City Hall. And it's tough when you become the captain of a ship that's like sinking, you know, but yet you're expected not only to keep it afloat, but to sail to new harbors and that type of a thing. And as I said, I will pray for you. And I hope that our community rallies around you to support. As I say, it's easy to throw stones, but, you know, what we need to do is join in together, because it's my understanding that you have a daughter that's involved. Now, what grade is she in?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade,
Yes,
okay. So she's in the early development stages as far as education is concerned. And I certainly hope that you will be here for a while, based upon your choice, as well as the satisfaction of your bosses, the school board, and the community. That's part of our problem. We need some stability also in terms of the leadership, and I'm glad that you're bringing with you some people that you are familiar with and that's familiar with you to help to lead the rest of us who are wondering who you are, where you're going, what your philosophy is. What makes you feel you've had a good day in terms of as a superintendent? I mean, you're a long way from the kids in the classroom, but are there things that you either see or hear that make you feel good that, you know, things are beginning to meet your philosophy? Or?
For me, a good day is when we've made a decision to make a change that might involve changing staff hours or changing a particular policy, and that staff members that were apprehensive about it come back and say, but we're doing this for children, so I can support that. So for me, a good day is when people truly put children first and they understand that it's about children.
Okay, I'm getting some time cues that we're going to be taking a break, and I'm not quite certain whether this is the break for the end of this segment or whatever. But again, I want to thank you for being on our show, and I do know that we're going to be following this segment, if this isn't the end of this first segment, with one of your staff people who also is new to our community that has a major challenge, and that's our charter school. So I'm going to ask those of you who are watching to continue to watch after the break, and I would ask you again to get on the phone or call to your kids who might be out in the yard or upstairs or whatever, so that they too can see and hear what's going on with District 150. We will be right back. I hope you will.
Do you know who we are? PCCEO, helping people, changing lives for every stage of life.